Hello fellow Witchers! Welcome to the channel. In this video I will be covering monster attack mechanics and how to parry them effectively. For the newer folks, perfect parries are the only real way to sustainably kill those 2-skull monsters without ripping through all your consumable items. So we'll discuss general strategies and approaches to parries, especially in the context of monster swings. So let's start with some basics. You have probably noticed monsters in Monster Slayer have 2 attacks that they randomly cycle through in a fight. There's a red skull icon that appears above the monster to alert you that an attack is incoming, and then you have some undisclosed amount of time before the monster actually swings at you. Maybe what you didn't know though is that despite all of the unique graphics and swings that different monsters have, the time between their attacks is constant.
Nani?
In other words, there's a pattern that every monster follows that you can count out to time your attacks and parries. So what's the pattern? Well, let's look at a fight against the Golem to understand how it works. Combat starts as soon as the red health bar appears above the Golem. If we start counting frames here, we'll call this frame 0, we can get an idea of the time between the Golem's attacks and identify any patterns. The first attack comes in at frame 82. The Golem then follows up at frame 219, then again at 356, then there's a double attack with hits landing at 492 and 510, and the last 2 hits come in at 648 and then a little bit later at 784. What you can see, with the exception of the first hit, is that there is always 4.5 seconds between each attack sequence. However, I chose the Golem specifically because you don't charge your crit meter on him unless you bomb him. What happens if we start generating critical hits? Well, for that, let's take a look at everyone's favorite cursed monster, the Archosaur. We'll start the battle the same way and mark the first frame. Once again, the first attack comes in just under 3 seconds. This time though, before the second strike, we have a crit sequence. Starting a critical strike sequence slows time, and this increases the time between monster attacks a set amount. We see attack number 2 at just over 5 seconds instead of 4.5, and then attack 3 is at 4.5. Now we have another crit sequence, and the time is once again over 5 seconds, and then back to 4.5. Another crit sequence, and then 5 seconds. Now normally the Archosaur tends to give players a little more trouble because of the diversity in its moveset. It has one relatively fast attack and one very slow attack. Since we know all of its attacks will land at around 4.5 to 5 seconds, then we can use the red skull indicator to predict which attack is incoming. If the skull shows up at around 2 seconds after the last attack sequence, then it will use a slow move. Otherwise, it will use a faster attack. Use predictions like these to help you parry. Regardless, with the exception of the short attack window at the start of the fight, the player should always be able to manage at least 3 strong attacks, which take about 1 second each, or about 10 fast attacks before having to parry. This is true for all of the monsters I have tested this on. By mixing in signs and crits, you can actually push that number to 4 attacks, but it takes a little more effort and can be risky. And for the most part, if you can manage those 3 attacks and perfect parries, you can defeat most of the 2-skull monsters in this game at level 15 once you have that parry reflection skill. In my next video, I will go through some examples and simulations describing high damaging combos and how to really choose between fast and strong attacks. If you liked this video, thanks a lot, it's my first one. If you'd like to see more like it, please like and subscribe. If you have a request about a topic you'd like to see broken down and explained, just let me know in the comments. Once again, thanks for watching, and now go slay some monsters.